Secrets of the forest, Spirit's night had wrapped the ancient forest in a thick veil of darkness. Only the pale moonlight filtered through the towering trees, casting ghostly beams onto the mist-covered ground. The air was thick with the scent of moss and damp earth, and a strange stillness filled the woods. This was no ordinary forest. Legends spoke of spirits that watched over it, guardians of nature who revealed themselves only to those deemed worthy. Even a weary traveler had heard these stories before but never paid them much mind. He was no believer in myths. He trusted only in the strength of his own 2 feet and the provisions in his satchel. He had been wandering for days, searching for a rumored hidden valley beyond the mountains, a place where the world was untouched by man. His journey had led him deep into this forest, where the trees stood like silent giants, their twisted roots forming natural archways and tunnels. But tonight, something was different. The deeper he walked, the more the forest seemed to breathe, as if it were alive in a way he had never noticed before. The whisper of the wind through the leaves sounded almost like voices, faint, distant murmurs calling him forward. At first, he told himself it was just the night playing tricks on his mind. But then he saw them. At the heart of a moonlit clearing stood figures unlike anything he had ever imagined. Towering, muscular beings, their bodies covered in moss and ancient bark, their eyes glowing like embers in the night. Runes shimmered across their arms, pulsing softly with an otherworldly light. They were not men, nor were they beasts. They were something older, something primal, spirits of the forest, guardians of its deepest secrets. Ivan froze, his breath caught in his throat. He wanted to run, but his legs would not move. The largest of the spirits stepped forward, its presence both commanding and serene. When it spoke, its voice was like the rustling of leaves and the distant roll of thunder. "Why have you come?" Ivan swallowed hard. He had no answer. Was he trespassing, seeking something he had no right to find? "You walk our land, but do you hear its voice?" The spirit continued. Ivan hesitated. Then, for the first time, he truly listened. The rustling trees, the distant hoot of an owl, the soft murmur of a hidden stream. The forest was speaking, not in words, but in whispers of life, in the rhythm of the wind and the steady heartbeat of the earth. He had been walking through it blindly, deaf to its voice, thinking himself separate from it. "A traveler comes with purpose," the spirit said, "but purpose without understanding leads only to ruin." Another spirit stepped forward, smaller but no less imposing. It held out its hand, and suddenly the air shimmered around Ivan. Visions flashed before his eyes, forests cut down, rivers poisoned, creatures fleeing from the destruction wrought by man. He saw what had been lost, and what was still being lost. Guilt settled heavy in his chest. He had never harmed the land himself, but had he ever truly respected it? "What do you seek?" the first spirit asked again. Ivan thought carefully before he answered. "Not conquest," he said slowly, "not ownership, only understanding, only to see the world as it is meant to be." For a long moment, the spirits were silent. Then, as if satisfied, the largest one extended its hand. The moment Ivan touched it, the forest around him seemed to awaken. Colors deepened, sounds sharpened, and for the first time he felt truly connected to it, not as a visitor, but as a part of it. "Then walk with respect," the spirit said, "and you will never be lost." As dawn began to break, the spirits faded into the trees, becoming one with the land once more. Ivan stood alone in the clearing, but he no longer felt alone. With a newfound sense of reverence, he continued his journey, knowing that the forest had accepted him, and that its whispers would guide him wherever he went.